Well, hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. You know, Jesus once said that he came to give us life, and life in all its fullness. What does that look like, I wonder? I thought today would be a good day to think about what gives us life and what brings meaning to our life. You know, Jesus was pretty good at telling stories. He tells stories every now and again to explain a point that he wanted to make. One time, he compared God to a gardener. He said, imagine that God is a gardener and that Jesus is a strong vine growing up from the ground. I guess in the area there was a lot of vineyards. They would grow grapes, make wine. That's where the picture comes from. So Jesus is like this vine growing out of the ground. Then imagine that each person is a branch growing out of that vine. When the gardener comes along, he'll look at all those branches and he'll see how they're doing. The branches that are producing good fruit, well, he'll prune them back and help them to grow even bigger and stronger so they produce even more fruit. But conversely, branches that are dried up and dead, well, eventually they'll be removed and thrown on a fire. Jesus then explained that what he hoped was that people would listen to his teachings and grow to be more like him as they put his teachings into practice. Those people would end up spreading his message and would grow strong, just like a strong and fruitful branch in a tree. Because that branch draws its life from the strong vine that grows up from the ground. He also said that he promised that if we want to root our lives in him and get that branch firmly embedded, he will never let go of us. He will always hold on to us and we will remain firmly embedded in him. Now, I love that promise. It means that God isn't going to get bored with me and move on. Rather, he's always going to be interested in me, in who I am, and in growing our relationship. The only important thing is that I have to want it. And this is where the whole subject of free will comes in. You know, we're free to make our own choice. God, as the all-powerful creator of the universe, could just enforce things. He could make us worship him and force us to behave in the ways that he wants us to. In some ways, you know, I look at this world, at how broken it is. After all, it's the bad choices that humans make that break homes, break families, break societies, create hatred, create war. But that's not God's way. God didn't create us to be robots. He didn't want us to be forced to love him, to worship him. He wants us to be friends in a relationship. And friends can only be friends because they choose to do so. Love can only exist when both parties want it to exist. Free will means that we have to choose to want to get to know God. And in the terms of Jesus' illustration, stay connected to the vine. If we choose not to, then God isn't going to stop us. As much as he hates to see it, we can wander off our own way and have nothing to do with him. He will always remain waiting there in the hope that we might come to him again. But he will never force us to do so. The choice has to be ours. But the promise is that if we do choose to connect with him, he will bring us life in ways we could never otherwise imagine. And that life will not only be completely fulfilling and completely amazing, but will go on long after these physical bodies that we have now have died. We will live forever with him and become the people he always hoped and always dreamt we could become. And don't worry, the Bible says we will get new bodies that don't have the problems of age, illness, aches or pains. It's great. If anything I've said raises questions you want to talk about, do feel free to get in touch. I'd love to tell you more of my story and what I've found it means to stay connected to Jesus. God bless you. Hope you have a great week and I'll see you next time.